Hello and welcome back to this video. In this video, we are going to learn about how to use rip command and how to use pattern geometry command. Typically in pattern geometry, how to use along feature of pattern geometry, because this is something which is not regularly used. Okay, so I'll be showing you one example in which we can use the rip command as well as the draft portion as well as shell command as well as this particular option. Okay, and combining all these features, we'll be actually creating one typical geometry. So I'm going to start with a sketch. And my sketch will be on the top plane. Now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a center rectangle, that is a rectangle originated from the origin. And here I'm going to define the size to my rectangle. So for example, the length of my rectangle is 500 and the width of my rectangle is suppose 450. So I'm defining two different values, or let's say 550. The width of the rectangle is 550. So width is technically 550 mm bigger than the length. And now I'm creating one arc here on the top and one arc here on the side, and both of these arcs are created without any dimensions or anything like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a dimension, that is the center of the arc and this part, the midpoint of the arc and this part is, let's say for this particular side it is 20 mm away, and the center of the arc and this particular part, let's say for this particular side, is 25 mm away for the longer side. I have created one geometry. You can alter the dimension if you want to, but you can also follow the similar dimension. Now here I'm selecting the arc, selecting the horizontal center line, and here I'm creating a mirror. Similarly, again I'm selecting this arc and selecting this line, and I'm creating a mirror. So technically rectangle was only the reference for creating all four of my arc. I'll click on finish, and because we are using this particular software, I can click on extrude. I can select the outer side entirely, the arc itself, and then I want to extrude it down. I want to keep it downward, and I want to extrude it with a length of, let's say, 25, okay, or let's say 50. So I want to extrude this with a length of 50, and all these values are like, you can change if you want to, or you can modify if you want. Okay. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a shell over here, which will make the body hollow. Okay. And now I'm going to define a thickness to my shell. So for example, I want a thickness of, let's say, 30 mm to my shell. And now I believe I need to increase the length in order to compensate for that shell. So what I'll do, I'll modify my extrude. And rather than 50, I'll just make it a little higher, 50 plus 30, because that is what my shell value is. So that the depth inside will be 50. Now while doing that, what I'll do, I'll go for draft command as well. Now I have other ways of making this, but I'm using draft just to show you. Now here the direction will be the upward direction or the lower direction. In stationary face, I'm going to select the top face. And here in faces to draft, I'm going to select single face, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So all the inner faces is what I'm selecting for the draft. And here I'm going to define the, let's say, draft value of 15 degree or draft value of 20 degree. And you can decide the value based on your typical conditions. I'll click OK, and this is how exactly the entire geometry is going to look like. Now, as you all know, this particular part is longer and this particular part is shorter. So if I create a sketch on the top plane, the default plane itself, we can understand, okay, this particular part is longer and this particular part this way, it's shorter. So now I'm going to create a line which is actually on the right side of the y-axis, okay, and I'm creating a line above the x-axis. So there are two lines which I've created. Now I want to specify that the distance of the line from the y-axis here, this gap is going to be suppose 25. So it is 25 mm inside the y-axis, and this gap over here, let's say this particular gap, I want to keep it 25 again. So this line is also 25 mm inside the x-axis. Now I'll click on finish. Now the sketch is already selected. I'll click on more over here and choose the option called rip. Now in rip, I'm going to select this option called perpendicular to section plane if it is not already selected. And here I want to create a symmetrical rip with the same thickness value of 30, what I've defined during the shell. Now cap will be from section and it will be at an offset of 0. Now here draft will be of the same value like I have defined for the draft over here. Now I don't typically remember the value for the draft. So what I'll do is I'll just click OK. Okay, and I'll just see the value for the draft first. So let's say here the draft value of 20 degrees. So what I can technically do is I can simply go in the rip command as well and change the value to 20 degree. Okay, now once I've changed the value to 20 degree, this is how this particular geometry is going to look like. Now once this particular part is ready, or once this particular thing is done, then what I need to do next is I need to create some fillets, okay, in order to complete this geometry. Now many people know that shell command is typically used for making the body hollow, but there are some more uses to shell than other than making the body hollow. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select single curve option inside the edge blend command over here, and I'm going to round all these edges inside the vertical one. Okay, so I'm just selecting all the vertical edges over here, not selecting the top or the bottom edge as of now. I'm just selecting this particular edge. And why I can't see the preview? It's only because the radius value is too small. So here the radius value as of now is 0.5. So what I'll do is I'll make the radius value 20 or let's say 50, big enough for this particular model. So I'll click on apply, and this is how all the internal slanting edge are rounded. Now I'll change the round value to let's say 15 mm, and then select the top edge and choose tangent curve as a selection technique. Okay, over here, so that it is faster. So here, if you make a wrong selection, you can press shift and then select the geometry, it will deselect it. Okay, so this is how I want to create all my fillets over here. Now, other than that, what I also want to do is I want to create a fillet here of radius value 80. Okay, why 80? Because this is 30 and this is this particular radius value is 50 and the thickness is 30. So if I give the radius value of 80, it will have a uniform thickness over here. Okay, so I'm selecting all the 4 edges over here to have a radius of 80. So here I'm selecting all the 4 edges to have a value of 80. I'll click OK, and this is how the model is looking so far. So it's looking like a plate as of now, okay, but it is not looking like a proper plate, a proper styrofoam one. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on shell command, and this is where you will find how shell can work, in different cases. For example, I want my entire plate thickness to be 2 mm. So normally we think shell is generally used for making the body hollow, and if I do select the face, we feel like that. So right, but if I select tangent face selection rule over here and select the side as well, so technically it is only defining a uniform thickness to whatever face is remaining. So in result, it is giving me some good results like this. And let's say I forgot to add a round over here. So what I can do is I can just go before the shell. Okay, by using this particular button over here, I can go before the shell, or you can right click on the previous feature and select this particular option called make current feature. So this way also you can go before the shell. Now I can click on edge blend, or I can just modify the edge blend which was previously created, where in which I have added the blends here on the top and bottom, and where I have forgot, I can just add a blend there and then come back to this particular location or this particular position. So this is how I've created a simple plate over here. Now this looks like a very simple plate, so I want to add some design to it. And as I've told you already that we are also going to use pattern geometry along option to do so. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a sketch here. And now my sketch is going to contain a circle. Now my circle is going to be horizontally aligned with x-axis. Technically, it is going to be on the same level as of x-axis. And my circle will overlap little bit onto this particular arc. Okay. Now, I'll just give some rough dimensions over here so that the overlap is constant. So here I'm defining the value of 200. And let's say here I'm defining the value of 357 it was. So I'll just making it 358. Okay. If I want, I can change this value later on. Now, later on, I can decide, or I can change the diameter as well as the distance over here. Now, I can click on finish. I can click on extrude. And while extruding, I don't want to unite this together. And I want to only give the height of 1 mm or 2 mm to this particular part. So, hardly there is a height of 2 mm and it is not united. It's like a small disc which is present over the top of this particular plate. Now, what I want to do with this particular disc is, like, I want to simply pattern this around this perimeter of the plate. And for doing that, I'll click on this option called pattern geometry. I'll reset it so that everyone is on the same level. Now here in geometry, I'm going to select the body itself. Okay, it doesn't matter which command is being used. And here I'm going to choose along option. Okay, as a type of pattern. And here in path, I'm going to select the tangent curve. Basically the upper edge, you can say. Okay, so this is the entire tangent curve which I'm selecting. Here I'm going to choose count and span. The span will be 100%. And in 100%, I want to have like 2, 3, 5 or 20 or 30 copies. So I need to give the number of copies, so much that it doesn't have any gap over here. Okay. So for example, if the number of copies are like 10, so you can see there is a good visible gap. Even in 20, you can see there is a good visible gap, especially on the cons, right? So I'll just slightly increase the number of copies. Don't increase this too much. If the gap is very small like this, it can be avoided. It can be ignored, like no problem in that case. But if the gap is very much visible, you have to make sure it is not there. Okay, so I am going to even make the circle a little further away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to even increase the number of copies to 30. Now, once I increase the number of copies, now I feel like the circle is too close to the periphery. So I can just simply go to my sketch again and change certain values. For example, here, rather than 358, I'll make it 360. So it will go much further away from this particular geometry. And here in place of 200, I'll make it, let's say, for example, 195. So it will become even smaller. And if I click on update model here, so it will update all the instance with that particular model. So here this looks fine. I can even make it little more further over here. So rather than 360, I'll make 362. So I'm increasing ever so slightly with 2 mm increment every time. I'll click on update model, and now I can see, okay, everything looks fine for me. There are hardly small gaps over here, but that will be totally fine. I'll click on finish, and this is how I have created this many discs over here. Now I want to unite all the discs together, only the disc. So I'll click on unite. Okay, what you can typically do is you can hide the body inside and then select any one of the body and press Ctrl A so that all the other bodies are selected at once. And now you can see we have united all the discs together. Okay, now there are two bodies over here. One is united disc over here and one is the plate. Okay, now I want to fillet all the edges which are created by this unite command. So I'll click on the edge blend command over here. I'll give a radius value of let's say 10 for now. And here I'll choose feature intersection and I'm going to select the unite feature over here. So once I select the unite feature, you can notice all the edges which were created using the unite command are getting a fillet. So here I'll increase the radius value to 20 to make it look more smoother. And here I'll click OK. So now fillet is also been applied. Now finally what I can do is I can click on unite and I can unite this with this. So only because of the fillet I didn't unite this earlier. Now I want to get rid of this extra part which is there outside the plate. So it's very simple. I can click on extrude. I can choose region. I can extrude this region. And rather than this region coming out, I'll say it should go up and it should be subtracting the body itself. Okay, and basically the height you can say up until next so that it subtract perfectly. Now here if I click OK, so this is what kind of a result I'm going to get. Okay, once this particular part is completed. Now finally I can add some edge blend. For example, here I'm adding an edge blend on the top edge. Here I'll choose tangent curve with a radius value of 1 for now. I can select let's say a radius value of 2 or 3. It should not go all the way to the edge. And here also. So once I'm defining all the values, you can see how the body is going to look like. To add a color to the geometry, I'll press Ctrl J. Ctrl J is typically used for changing the color. So Ctrl J, then I'll select the body. I'll click OK. Now here it will show me which color I want to apply. So here I want to let's say apply this particular color. I can select a color, click on apply, and then I can go to the tool tab or the view tab. I can choose perspective so that it looks more real. Okay, and then in the style I can choose shaded, and here I can choose studio. Okay, so that it looks much better. Okay, now if you want to make it look even better, you can just press the home tab or the home button over here. That will make it look much better. Okay, so if you are not happy with the color in the studio environment, you can still change the color with the same shortcut. I just want to make it a little lighter. So I'll choose a lighter color, a lighter shade of the same color, and this is how the body is going to look like. Okay, so I hopefully you all understood how exactly this particular thing can be created or this particular kind of design can be created. And this was a very simple example of rip as well as the pattern command as well as the shell command. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.